What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video. And today I just wanted to share with you something really practical that I've been thinking about recently, and that is basically how to goal set for the new year and beyond. So at the time of recording this, we are currently in December, which is usually when a lot of people start setting goals and they want to reach New Year's resolutions, but really meets their goals for the new year. And obviously, we want to set goals in the first place. That's not really the point of this video, but assuming you have goals that you want to reach, I want to share with you a couple practical tips to maybe help you think about the way you set goals and actually help you reach them. And I'll share with you my personal goals as well, just as an example. So the first thing I want to talk about are the two types of goals. It's very easy to set goals, like things that we want to do, but it becomes more realistic when we start thinking about the different types of goals that we have. And in my opinion, we have two types. There are the attainable goals, and then there are the ambitious goals. So what's the difference there? The attainable goals are goals that are pretty easily within reach. Like I could say, by, let's say in 3 months time, so let's say by March, I want to be able to lose 5 pounds. Let's say your goal is to lose fat, right? You want to lose weight, you want to exercise. That's definitely doable. So with a good diet and a good training regimen, it could absolutely be doable if you are disciplined and you stick to that routine. So attainable goals should give you the confidence and give you a sort of a step-by-step framework in order to get to it relatively easily. Ambitious goals, on the other hand, are goals that scare you a little bit. So they should be ones that almost feel out of reach, but are also not too crazy ambitious where you know it's impossible. So let's talk about financial goals, right? If I made, let's say 50K this year, and next year I wanted to make 2 million, well, anything is possible, right? If you do the right things, but it's not very likely that's going to happen if you continue along the same business practices that you've been doing. So there's ambitious goals, and then there's like unrealistic goals. You don't want to get too unrealistic, but you want to set goals that maybe scare you a little bit, give you that bit of a flutter in your heart that's like, oh, I'm not really sure if I can do that, but it motivates you and it drives you to actually push towards that goal. And once you set that goal, then you can start working backwards to discover what you have to do each step of the way to get there. So just keep that in mind. We have attainable goals, which are relatively easy and they give you confidence to get there, and you can take those easy necessary steps to get there. But then we also have the ambitious goals, which are definitely a lot harder to reach, and they scare you a little bit, but they're worth reaching because you have a bigger sense of accomplishment. So all that to preface that goal setting is really important, and hopefully you have both of those types of goals. So now I want to quickly share with you a quick tip here, and that is specificity. The more specific you can be with your goal setting, I think the more powerful it's going to be, and the more realistic, the more attainable those goals can be. Because you start visualizing like what you'll have to do to actually reach those goals, right? So like we used in the exercise example, let's say I want to lose 50 pounds in the next 6 months. Well, that's more of an ambitious goal because 50 pounds seems like a lot of weight to lose. But the thing is, like, the more overweight you are, just as a as an objective fact, basically, the more overweight you are, the more weight you have to lose, the easier it is to lose it in the first place. So I was overweight, like, let's say 2 years ago. I started intermittent fasting. I started exercising, really cutting down on my meals though. And I found that most of that weight dropped off within the first few months because it was just excessive, right? And then the closer you get to your target weight, your target goals, the exponentially, the more difficult it becomes, just because your body wants to hold on to that weight. It doesn't want to lose all that weight. You have to survive, right? But I think exercise is a pretty understandable topic to use as an example. But anyway, yeah, the more specific you can be, the better it's going to be. So if I want to lose 50 pounds in the next 6 months, I really have to plan out like what I have to do each month to get there. And this takes me to what I call the 12-week year. So basically, instead of giving yourself an entire year, you break it down into 12 different weeks. So basically, there's like 12 weeks is basically 3 months, right? So you can use 2 12-week years to help you reach that 6-month goal. So if I think about, what am I going to do in month 1 to get to my 6-month goal? You start to plan that out. What are my monthly goals that I have to do? Once you figure out the monthly goals, like I have to 60 divided by 6 is 10, right? So I have to lose, let's say, 10 pounds a month, let's just say. Then what do I have to do each week to get to my monthly goal. So if I want to lose 10 pounds a month, what am I going to do to get to that 10-pound a month goal each week, right? So you really want to dial in what your diet plan is, what your exercise regimen is every single week. Then you can boil it down to the weekly goals, or sorry, the daily goals. So each day of the week, what am I doing to reach that goal? Now you're being very, very specific, right? So maybe day 1, I'm doing a push day. Maybe day 2, I'm doing pull day, right? Day 3, I'm doing legs. Day 4, I'm doing abs. So whatever that is, you want to be very specific, and that will give you that framework to follow. That kind of eliminates the excuses that we have in our brain, right? Whether or not we like to admit it, we come up with our own excuses of why we didn't reach certain goals that we set for ourselves. And using these specific methods, we can be more specific for ourselves, but it makes the goals a bit more reachable as well. So that being said, let me share with you my goals and what I'm currently planning. So again, we're in December right now, but my big goals for next year, number 1 is to have an instrumental album released by spring. So I want to release 3 albums next year. Those are my 3 major goals, 3 ambitious goals for the year. My overlying ambitious goal is to just release a lot more music, right? But I have to be more specific than that. So I basically resolved to myself, I want to release 3 major projects next year, release them at 3 different times throughout the year, and each project is going to focus on something a little bit different. So just so you know, the first goal I'm reaching, or I've set for myself, is to create an instrumental album for solo piano and solo instrument. So basically I'm writing a set of pieces for piano and violin, piano and flute, piano and cello, things like that, right? So it's basically a chamber setting where it's 2 performers at a time. And at the time of recording this, I'm nearly done that project because I set this goal earlier in the year. I set this, I think, in like November actually. So I've been working on it ever since. And this project I want to release by spring. And I'm actually hosting a live concert to premiere these pieces. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, that's my first major goal. My second major goal is to release my follow-up album to my Freedom album. So the debut album I released back in 2021, that was my first foray into a complete album. And so I want to do a follow-up on that, do a sophomore album that's a little maybe more poppy in style, venturing into slightly different genres. I want to try new things in the album, and I'm really excited about that. I want to release that around my birthday, so around midsummer, let's say. And then the third and final goal I have is to put together and release a Christmas album by November-ish, because obviously if you release it in December, people are already celebrating Christmas and they're already busy and stuff. So I kind of want to release it in maybe October, November, just so there's a bit of time to get out there, and for people to enjoy. So those are just my personal goals, right? And they're a little bit scary. They're ambitious because I don't really know for sure if I can make it or not, but I'm sure as heck going to try to reach that goal, try to put it out there. And I think at the pace I'm going right now, I think it'll be doable because I've set these goals earlier in the year. Like I said, I set it about a month ago, and I've been working steadily on one project at a time. Right now, again, I'm working on goal number 1, which is the instrumental set of pieces. So I'm working on that, but I'm also working on the other 2 here and there when I'm, get ideas for those. But after the first goal is complete, I'm going to focus on goal number 2 and then go to goal number 3, one at a time. But you can see why being specific is really important, because I know that I want each album to release at a specific time of the year, which means I can then backtrack and figure out what steps I have to take to reach each of those specific goals, right? So when am I going to do the writing? When am I going to produce the music if I'm doing mock-ups? When I'm going to hire live performers, right? I have to book the venue for the live recital, for the premiere of those compositions. So all of those details come into fruition once you have the goals that you're trying to reach. And that's why being specific is really, really important, okay? So all that to say, setting attainable goals is not that difficult. You just have to be specific. You have to have goals that scare you a little bit, because that kind of pushes you mentally, right? And you want to prove to yourself that you can actually reach that thing, because then you have that sense of accomplishment. It gives you that confidence and the courage to set future goals that can be equally as ambitious, if not more. And it just develops you overall as a person as well. And I think, as musicians, as composers, we really have to develop that sense of confidence and courage. Give ourselves those deadlines and those goals to reach, and we prove to ourselves that it's all possible, right? So hopefully that kind of helps. Let me know if you have any questions about, goal setting in general, my personal process. And if you want something tactical, like if you want something really practical about the music making process, how to go from your initial ideas to a fully produced, mocked up piece of music, orchestral music, then I want to give you free access to my workshop called the Complete Composer's Framework. In there, I uncover my full process for going from the initial idea to the completed piece of music, plus my virtual orchestration roadmap, which has helped a lot of my students, and I want to give that to you as well. It's a completely free on-demand workshop, which you can check out down in the description box. It's the first link there. I hope it's helpful. It gives you those practical steps that you can follow to really start taking your music and bringing it to reality. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there. Take care.